Greetings, everybody.
That was like spaceship music, I tell you. Anyway.
That was very intense. I thought Hans Zimmer was there conducting the orchestra.
Chris, some of our regulars are out tonight. So Chris is visiting some family, and Mark is getting over COVID, and Dana is mysteriously absent. We don't really know.
Zool.
He's AWOL. Zool has taken over,
Yes.
and Zool has taken Dana AWOL, apparently. So we are shorter on guests and hosts than we typically are, but I imagine the three of us will have no trouble filling an hour. So,
Rich is sending question marks in chat. Is he trying to get in or something?
Oh, let me see.
That or he's become the Riddler.
Yeah,
I don't know. I couldn't hear the sound on the intros. Maybe that's what he was going question mark. I don't know if you guys could hear the sound. I couldn't hear it for some reason.
Oh, it was like Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whole score. It was really in your face.
Space.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
So we'll do the travel around the circle. So, Doug Wheels, why don't you go first? What are you doing these days?
I haven't done anything, and I am taking care of my dog right now. So I'm gonna have to say, Professor, I need to pass on this.
No, it's fine. That's what
Ryan's
it is.
working on the Ferrari over on the kitchen table. If anyone wants to see
Vroom, vroom.
the $500, $400 Technic Ferrari
That's crazy.
that he ordered, and he didn't get the gift with.
Oh.
What was it? The gift with purchase that came out with it. He didn't get it or something, and I'm like, well, then why didn't you just wait for double VIP to get it? He's like, I don't know.
Because now.
Rich is saying he's not the Riddler. He had no invite.
Mark sent out the invite, so I'm just trying to see if your name's on there.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
I don't know how the invite thing works. I've never.
Well, hold on, Rich. I'll find Chris's last email and forward you the new invite. How about that?
But you also have to know the secret handshake.
I could guess the secret handshake, but I might get kicked off for it.
Well, at my house,
There it is.
I traveled around. I hit some Walmarts today because I heard that Walmarts were clearancing some things out, and they are doing their summer reset. I walked into one store, and in the toy aisle, they were literally had their planograms out in their sheets, but sadly, almost nothing was on sale yet. So maybe I should go back there tomorrow. We'll see. But I hit 4 Walmarts, and I found a number of things that were 20% off, and I picked up a couple of things, but I was a lot more selective. I only found one thing that was more than 20%. I found a single Biker Scout with a kind of banged up box that was 30% off, so I bought that. But I bought a couple sets. One place had the dots sets, the dots with the tray.
Yeah.
They had those. One was like $19, regular $30, and the other one was $16. And so I just bought them for parts. I bought a Harry Potter set, intending to flip the minifigs again just for parts. So I picked up a couple things, but it wasn't massive discounts or anything. Go Eureka! I also ran across a handful of video cubes that are still on the shelf at one store.
What are they priced
really?
at?
They had 3 different prices. One, the like dragon, the red dragony thing was like still like $12, and then something else was $8, and then the pink turquoise was like $5 a cube. I already have all those things, so none of those prices got me excited. But
Rich, I did send you the invite, so it came from me though. So check your spam if you don't see it. Sorry, go ahead, guys.
The other thing that I did is another Harry Potter set was I bought the Ministry of Magic to sell the minifigs, and really just wanted the masonry bricks and dark green that come with the set, and about 20 of them in this. But I would say, unlike some of the other Harry Potter sets that I buy for the buildings, this is not a very good building, and I would not recommend it. For one thing, if you pick it up, it just simply pops apart. The 3 levels are very weakly attached. It's not stable. It has this like this thing that's supposed to connect them across the top, but it's pretty funky, and I do not. I am going to break this down into parts. Like I'm not going to keep it. Some of the other Harry Potter sets, like I can imagine adding a back, like the 12 Grimwald. I can imagine adding a sidewalk in the front and closing the back, and it looking just fine next to the other modulars. Not true of the Ministry of Magic set. So I would not give it the builder, that modular seal of endorsement at all. It's got some parts in it, but other than that, it's not that great.
Yeah, I hear you. So
what's going on at VW Lane?
Not a lot. I've been sorting Technic. When I was building this guy, I needed dark blue Technic, so I started sorting the dark blue Technic. And the second I started sorting, for some reason, that triggers it in my brain that I need to continue. So I've sorted all my Technic into its bins, and now I'm just reorganizing because I had to move some stuff around because, you know, the ever continuous expansion of bins. And I'm checking our local Walmarts, and there's not any good deals here yet, which sucks. But yeah, so that and not much else. No
you want to
building.
Hear a dark blue Technic story?
Yes.
So, in part, if you're in our lug,
hold on 2 seconds.
Rich is here.
Rich is backstage. Yeah.
If you're in our lug, you know, and you do a display for the Lego store, they'll take, how do I say, like, I don't want to say reject bricks, but like pick a brick cups that are not bought and stuff like that. They always have like leftover like bulk bricks that they, you know, that they'll give to our ambassador, and our ambassador bags it up into gallon bags. And if you participate in a store display, you get a gallon sized bag of these.
Sure. Yeah.
So this is about 2 years ago. The Bugatti Veyron had just come out.
Ooh.
And my husband being the technical lover, you know, whatever. So we had participated in a display, and Dana's like, "Hey, I got this bag of dark blue and aqua in medium azure Technic, you know, for you guys, you know, because not everyone in my lug wants Technic." Yeah. And so Brian's like, "Yeah, cool, we'll take that bag. Thanks so much." Because usually we don't take it because we have so much bulk that we still have to sort. And so Brian's sorting it out, and he's looking at it closely, and he keeps looking at it closely. It turns out it was fake Lepin Bugatti Technic that someone had returned. It had to be that someone returned to the store, and the store saw that the bags were open or something, and they just, you know, they dumped it in okay, we'll give this to the local lug, but they didn't notice that it was a fake Bugatti.
Oh gosh.
Because Brian was all excited. It was dark blue and medium azure Technic.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
just so you know, Rich, if you were talking a moment ago, we couldn't hear you. Oh yeah, okay. Now we can hear you.
Yeah, well, we're not really open until Friday.
Oh, I didn't think you were. I was literally.
Now we can hear you. Call customers. Fuck off. I mean, screw off.
I don't know what that other conversation is, but when he comes back, I'll unmute him.
Okay, he's back.
I'll be the Chris saying hi to the comments. Hi Mayo, hi Moto, hi Axel Pate.
Say something, Rich.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I had somebody come to my door. They were peeking in, being nosy, and I had to shoo them away.
So you're not open for business at the moment?
I am not open for business. It's our typical days are Friday, Saturday, Sundays, but my wife has COVID.
Oh.
And I'm not opening this weekend, which gives me an ample opportunity to kind of clean up the mess after my build before we go to Brick Fair, Virginia. I'm not affected. Either I'm asymptomatic or I don't have it. I'm not even taking a test until I actually feel bad. So
yeah.
And some people are asymptomatic. They never show symptoms. I when I had it, I felt bad for 3 days, and I just felt tired and I slept, but it was pretty I typically have an above average immune response to things, but my husband was like knocked out for a week, of like super tired, slept all the time,
Oh, she's feeling better. You know, we're both vaxxed fully and boosted, at least one. And she had a fever yesterday, and it kind of broke overnight. But the couple of days before that, she wasn't feeling real good. We'd actually attended an event where 30 people were present, and it's like, we're going to have to call people.
Yes, and in continuing the health news, I went for I had a physical for the first time in years, and I went for my follow-up to the physical, and my doctor was a little stressed out about monkeypox. He thinks that people are not taking it as seriously as they should. Instead,
well, they should take it seriously, but the point is that if you don't have extracurricular partners, you should be okay.
That's not what he said. People are treating it as a sexually transmitted disease, but he said it's not.
I thought it was rubbing.
Touch. He said there's evidence it remains in clothing, and you can transfer it through clothing if you come into physical touch. So
yeah, I heard it's it can be in spit. So if you kiss, if you spit unintenthrough, I mean, it's not like aerosol like COVID, but it's spit.
Yeah. It can be transferred through body fluids, but it has to be kind of like a direct contact.
Yeah, it's transferred through body fluids.
It's body fluids now.
Yeah,
body fluids and touch.
Body fluids, sweat, spit.
But it's not airborne. It's what?
No, it's not airborne like COVID. But if you have somebody has a lisp or spits when they talk.
And so he told me, he's like, you're a college professor, you're around horny students who may touch you. He's like, you should probably get the vaccine. It can happen. Even just spittle, knock on wood, no one ever spits in my face. That's never happened, but
spittle, yeah.
So are you saying that if I go to Burke Fair, Virginia, I might want to get the vaccine before I go?
That's what my doctor suggested.
Or wear a mask at least.
So you don't get.
Well, that's not. Well, that would protect this part of my face, but not anywhere else.
Wear a full paper suit. That would definitely.
Wear the shield and the mask. Then you'll do COVID and the monkeypox.
And if you get bored, you can take a whiteboard marker and just write on the sheet.
Go as the toy in the bubble, but have like the arms so you can reach down and set up the box.
Wait, a John Denver picture stuck to your face.
Or just,
that'll work.
How about a printout of John Denver with the eyes cut out, and you can put it over.
And everyone would know who it is.
I just put the glasses on over it.
Axel Plate says, put on a space helmet.
There you go.
Oh, that's right. I'm supposed to touch it to highlight it, I think.
Yeah. Or you're doing this you're doing this on your new laptop, aren't you?
This is my first ever time at the controls. So it's
Natalie, Brian, and I, you were talking about getting up early. I had to get up at 5:30 on Wednesday.
Oof.
Because, and you're gonna think I'm silly, but at Disney World,
not silly.
You want to make your event and dining reservations.
Yep.
You have to do it 60 days out, and they send you an email. And so I woke up at 5:30 to do it, and Natalie wants full Mandalorian armor to go to Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, they actually sell that?
Protected monkeypox and COVID.
There you go. No, as someone, I'm old enough that I remember getting up at 2 a.m. to go stand in line for the Ticketmaster seats that went on sale at whatever 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. on a Saturday. So you're literally ruining your Saturday night or your Friday night just so that you can get in line to get tickets to something.
People are like,
these days.
I'm so tired at work. I woke up at 5:30 to log into my Disney experience to book restaurants that we wanted and get Natalie the lightsaber building experience.
If I want to go to Yellowstone National Park and stay in the lodge, it's almost that bad. Like they book, I think it's exactly 1 year out. So like if you want to book for next summer, you should be booking right now for the lodge.
Hey, Axel Plate, when I say Beskar, I actually mean the reels of polypropylene that go on digital printers.
Oh, so you're 3D printing.
We got the helmet because Brian's printer can't print the helmet.
Okay.
In one piece, so we got the printed helmet for like $90 off of Etsy, but he's printing all of the rest of the pieces, and I'm gonna be bondoing them and sanding them and calling Dana saying, what's the best way to make it look aged but still make it look cool. And she wants it teal, purple, and off-white.
Cool.
I'm almost disappointed that your husband didn't use this as an opportunity to say, well, clearly we need a bigger 3D printer.
Yeah, no.
Are you guys doing the Star Wars hotel?
No, we're not. We're just doing a Galaxy's Edge for
I thought you weren't allowed to go in and cosplay.
Kids under the age of 13 are allowed to go in full costume.
Interesting, because you can't really confuse them for workers. Yeah, okay.
Natalie's first trip to Disney, we did the full bippity boppity boop experience because she was 4 and what I call full princess. Mm-hmm. I have photos there. They did the full Cinderella. She had this huge bun and tiara, and they glitter, and they gave her a new Cinderella, and she spent all day. And they had so much hairspray in her hair that she went to bed. The next morning, she got up. We were going to Epcot. We were doing the Anna Elsa meet, and she, of course, loved Elsa. So she put on her Elsa dress, and I just stuck the tiara bag on, and her hair was still perfect. So yeah, kids can come up to the age of 13 in full costume.
I did not know that.
So she's 9. She can go full Mando.
That's awesome. Won't that be hot? Oh, wait, what? You guys are going? Oh, in 2 months, so it won't be that.
We're going in the last week of September, and she is going to wear it Sabine Wren style, where she has a T-shirt and not long sleeve.
Cool.
Sabine had a T-shirt for most of, I think, like 2 seasons of Rebels. So
yeah.
And besides, we're gonna use the magnets. So when she gets done with it, we'll just go
and put it in a bag and
back and be done.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a good idea for sure.
So I went to Galaxy's Edge right before COVID. So this would have been the December, and then COVID showed up in the spring. And at the time, we were staying in Jacksonville, Florida, because Thomas was doing outpatient at the Mayo Clinic, which I have nothing but great things to say about Mayo. But a buddy of mine from grad school teaches at UVA. I was like, if you want to go to Galaxy's Edge, because he's also a huge Star Wars fan, Thomas is sort of on the fence. He could go or not go. And I was like, I'm down here. You could come down and stay. We have a guest room in the rental, and we could drive over for a day and, go to Galaxy's Edge. You come back and you could spend the night. You don't have to drive all the way back to Athens, Georgia. You can rest up and then leave the next day. So he's like, yeah, that sounds great. So he came down, and his name is Rich. Rich and I went over to Galaxy's Edge, and I have to say it was a mixed bag. I had been told that it would be this like interactive experience, and there'll be people walking around, in costume. There were like 3 stormtroopers. There was like a Rey and someone in a Wookiee costume, and an R2-D2, and that was it. I mean, there were park, personnel who were like in some sort of costume, but
you gotta talk to them. They'll tell you, like, they'll give you backstories. All of the park personnel who work in the shops, they've all got their own backstory. Apparently, they're supposed to make up.
Because I tried to ask them, like, how was it working there? And they said, well, I can tell you about my backstory. They couldn't talk to you as a real person.
You got to say, well, man, where are you from? The Outer Rim? You got to preface it like that. Like, I'm man, I'm from Coruscant. This place is crazy. You got to engage.
Now, I will say the food was better than I expected. The food, we went to the Olga's restaurant and we ate at one of the other places, and the food was very good. You're paying amusement park prices, but at least it wasn't like you got like a warmed over hot dog and they had like no sauces or something. Like I've had terrible amusement park food in other places.
Yeah.
So I would give them full marks for the food. I was disappointed in the costuming. And then the other thing was, it was just like every time you turned around, it was just, here, spend money on this, oh, you want to build a droid? Oh, you want to
have to make back their $4 billion from George Lucas.
I was like, I'm okay with capitalism, but I was literally just turned off. I mean, everything was just monetizing my love of the franchise. And I did buy stuff. There was some cool stuff that you could only get in the park. So I definitely spent money, but it was just, I felt like I already paid a lot of money from my perspective, to get into the park.
Yeah.
And then other than the 2 rides, everything else cost you more money. I mean, everything costs more money. And I thought, I'm glad I went, and I have no desire to come back for a decade unless they, have some killer ride that makes me want to go back.
This is I told Natalie, this is the farewell tour. We did Disney when she was 4, and I told her we do Disney when Galaxy's Edge opened, and that's it. That's it. We're done. But yes, minifig collector, I have all of the Sabine minifigs. I have all of the Boba Fett and Jango Fett and Mandalorian minifigs, except for the nickel Boba Fett and the Cloud City Boba Fett.
The nickel Boba Fett? What's the nickel Boba Fett?
It was like a limited edition. They made like the original, like with the thingy that you put on.
Okay.
They took the original Boba Fett. They made him like nickel. It was for some
like metal.
Carbonized.
I don't think it was carbonite. They just made him in that.
No. In the action figure, they released a number of the figures in what they called carbonized paint jobs. Is that what you're talking about?
I think so. It was a special Lego minifig. I think they only released 100 of them.
What is it?
The Boba Fett that's like a nickel color or something, metal.
Oh, the metal one?
Yeah. I'm not spending $2,000.
Here's about those. There's a solid gold one too, right?
Yeah, I'm not getting the solid gold one.
If you're a real fan.
So you have the white one?
I have the white Super Commando
the one
one.
that was a poly bag?
And I have the white one that was a poly bag.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I got you hat.
And now she's what are you cosplaying now?
Mom who doesn't want to get skin cancer, who's always like, put more suntan lotion on, you're gonna get burned.
I'm a dog.
All right, I'm going downstairs. I'll be back.
All right.
Please.
So
Yes.
one of the things I want to talk about.
Dog wheels?
Yes.
Maybe mute her for a second.
One of the things I want to talk about today, since I got to sit in the controller chair, is things that nudged me forward or nudged other panelists forward in their building. And some of these are kind of dated, but one of the things that actually helped me get better as a builder was this book. This book, Beautiful Lego, came out.
He has all the power.
This book came out before I think really Lego had taken off on Instagram, where now I see cool things on a daily basis that people share on Instagram. Other people share it on different forums. But one of the things that struck me about this book is it really made me realize that Lego could be at the level of art. That it not only could you make scenes and could you make characters, but you could literally use it as an art form. And it could actually be at a very high level, very sophisticated level. And this was one of the things that first made me go, wow, I could never do that. But now over time, I've gotten a little more confident. So like, well, maybe there's a couple of these things I could maybe do something like that. And so I think that, one of the things that's true when you develop in lots of different ways is you kind of even have to imagine what you want to be or where you want to go. And for me, Beautiful Lego is really helpful to say, holy cow, you can do that with Lego? That's something that's really cool. That's something I might want to try. So do other people, did you have similar experiences where something just, hit you over the head and you're like, I want to try that?
So I'll start. I pretty much realized that that should be an option right around the
Your audio's not so great.
Yeah, it's cutting in and out.
I know. I had to abandon my headphones. Sorry.
Okay. Now you're better.
I'll speak up too.
And now you're worse again.
Around
What
the
is your mic? Is your mic blocked?
Around the digital revolution, when people got on the internet, I kind of realized that you could do that. And then when the cons started happening, and then on and on. the fruit of that kind of labor as it started to really get into the mindset, the zeitgeist of other builders, like Sawaya, things like that. I always kind of knew that I could do that kind of thing, but not something that really helped me. There's a builder up in Seattle.
Rich, we're only getting like every third word. I mean, I get what you're saying.
There was a builder up in Seattle who created this like museum of modern art kind of like thing, and he put it up on bookshelf, and that kind of like compelled me as well as bookshelf started to take off.
All right, how about Jeff? Was there a breakthrough for you, where you kind of had your horizon widened as a builder?
Well, I said beforehand, part of it was just the better parts that are out now. I mean, I was using this little guy. I had this out yesterday for my chat because we were talking about the Duplo windscreen, and someone, clicked on my picture. Move me to the top corner, or just hit the full screen on me. So I think there's 3 dots on my picture. Or in the bottom bar where all of our pictures are at the bottom.
Yes, touch you.
If there's a square there, you can touch that and it should full screen me. There you go.
Woohoo!
It's StreamYard 101. So like I built this back in 2009, and I'd gotten this Duplo helicopter windscreen back then, and I was trying to integrate it, and the only thing I could figure out was to run a hose through it. And recently, someone on Brothers Brick built a ship using this windscreen, and he just used that new little coffee. I want to say the coffee grinder type piece. So it's like the little 1x1 round with the one long bar sticking out, and just stuck those right in here. And I'm like, crap, right? Like just the fact that the parts have evolved so much that there's so many new different new things to build, or new ways to build, that you just through practice or through trial and error, you just keep on figuring out better ways to build things, right?
But I will say as a counter comment that there are lots of people today who have the luxury of all these amazing parts.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily push themselves. So part of it is the availability, but also part of it is the creativity or the imagination of, I mean, I will stick with you and just talk about the spiral nature of your castle layout. I think that was pretty original.
Fair enough. Yeah. So I mean, like, it's the ideas and stuff, right? Like that's my 5th castle. I think it's 5th.
Okay.
Since I started building castles for display. I built castles when I was a kid, but this is my 5th castle, and it was just like the idea hit me and the math worked out, and trying to figure out the math was like a 2-week problem, but once I got it, it was like it all worked, right? So, and I mean, I don't think the build is that spectacular. It's still brick on brick. There's not a lot of snot work except for in the side of the towers, and it's repetitive. But it's just because of the size of it, or just the overall design, it becomes a good mock.
But certainly, you're right in that it is brick on brick. But certainly, creating a spiral pattern is not a default Lego shape. I mean, that took That took thought. That took creativity. That took working it out. Yes, it is not a lot of snot, but getting the spiral. I mean, I always joke as a modular building that Lego wants to be a cube. Like if you're building it wants to be a cube. Like if you don't push yourself, you end up with a box every time. As Rich is visually demonstrate, you get a box extremely easily. So you need to break up the linear aspects of that if you want to do something original. That's still probably one of my favorite modulars, the detective door.
Well, he's expanded it. Hey, Jeff, by the way.
Welcome aboard, Jeff.
Hello.
So our topic for today is just sort of talking about things that nudged us forward as Lego builders, that either inspired us or made us want to try something that we maybe in the past didn't think we could even attempt. So what are, if you have anything that comes to mind?
Y'all need like an 8-year-old to tell you what to build.
Well, I would say, Meredith, that you in particular have produced more than one jaw-dropping development. So I think you're sailing.
Y'all need an 8-year-old to tell you what to build. That's all I'm saying, because she has no limits, and so she says, "You can build that, right?"
But for example, when I showed up at Birmingham at convention, and I had seen pictures of your set, but when I saw the size of it, what was it that you were like, I'm gonna make this 10 times that?
Oh, it was the tower. I had to make the tower first, and everything scaled from the tower, but okay. Here's the thing, building things round and building things that look natural, I think, is what stresses a Lego build. And natural can be I struggle with creatures, and I'm trying to push myself to make more creatures. We're pushing, things to look natural and things to be round is, I think those two focuses will always get you to build something different and something that pushes your limits. Because Lego wants to be a square, and when you have to force yourself not to be a square, there's so many problems. Like, how do you get a round tower onto a system that is, system that looks like this? How do you get a round tower into that? How do you get to integrate? Yep. So many problems. Just once you achieve that shape, how do you transfer it in? And then building things that look natural, whether they're muscles or something on a creature or a figure, it's so difficult to take something that is so not organic looking and make it organic.
So, is that the 3-stud brick? Was that a transformative piece for you?
No, it's just a wedge plate that I'm working.
Rich was holding up a 1x3, I think.
So my comment was that it's hard to make this into something that's going to be organic.
Yeah.
So I was agreeing with you.
It's very challenging.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
The voice of Oklahoma. Go ahead.
I don't remember where I saw it or who I saw it from or what it was, but it was a medieval scene, and it was not the typical medieval scene. It was words are happening. It was a countryside scene with like an inn and like a farm in the background and stuff like that, right? And like, I was like, why can't I make an inn like that? So I started making the inn. I wanted to make it into a dollhouse. That way it opened up in the middle, yada shmada. And it never got finished. It's sitting up on a shelf right now due to renovations. Go figure, But that kind of inspired me to think more outside of space and city and superhero crap. And then when I see stuff like that, like what Meredith does and what like VW does, and then what Matt does with like the town and city and space and like fantasy and like what your 8-year-old tells you to do. I'm not trying to kiss ass here, but it does inspire me to try new techniques and try different things. Like Torah nerd, Greg, with his sci-fi stuff, his Western stuff, I can't remember the name of it. I'm so tired.
Steampunk. No, not Steampunk.
Tech West.
No, Tech West, yes.
Right, so his Tech West stuff kind of spurred me on to like trying something new, trying something that wasn't a spaceship, but it was a robot horse, and like, not really having a reference for it, just going, what does a horse look like? A horse looks like this. How do I build that in X, Y, and Z? And I think I nailed it.
Make it look organic.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And it kind of looks that way. It could be horse-like. And then, like, more Star Wars things started to happen, like in the comics and the TV shows. And I've never been a huge Lego Star Wars fan. I am, however, a huge Star Wars Mandalorian fan. And so when that battle pack came out, and they're like, here's this teeny tiny speeder and this, whatever, I was like, that's dumb. So that's where, these came in, with like speeders that look like they're compact. They'd fit in they'd fit in the back of a ship, like a hold or something. And, that's how they go out and kick ass and rock and roll. and that sort of thing inspires me. And seeing, like I said, your guys' creation, seeing the different shapes that you can do. Like, I don't know how to build round. I'll never know how to build round.
I'm still figuring that out.
There's tutorials.
Right.
There's tutorials. You can do it.
I don't like tutorials.
I look at tutorial. Well, I'll look at how someone else's build and I try to zoom in. But going to what Jeff's saying, I was after my first brick fair. Martin Harris was my theme leader, and I just fell in love with everything Martin did, and that inspired me. And then Tyler from season 1, Lego season, Lego season. I want to build figures and creatures like that, and I am not there that. So that it's just everything I see, it inspires me. And I think when you start building those skills, they just compound. But yeah, I mean, there's every what's the guy Rangal?
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? He is my new muse. I love seeing his stuff. I steal his techniques. I'm sorry. I think when Martin had the Princess and the Frog competition, that whole curved boathouse, I stole all that like greebly stuff from how Rangal does his. To me, it's a nonstop melting pot. Sometimes I worry about, man, am I just like copying what, this person or Martin's doing? That's why I always like, Natalie, what should I build? Because she just throws out ideas that are just out there. And I think that's one way I try to get myself challenged is, has anyone built this? No, cool. Let's go build it because no one else has done it. So even if I'm stealing techniques from various builders, it's still something I'm bringing together that's my own, that has been inspired from all these builders. But yeah, I guess that's my 3 things, getting organic, circular, and then trying to build something that has never been done before so that, you really can express like your take on it or your techniques on it.
And I would agree, sculpture, which,
it's hard.
It's a totally different animal than building buildings or spaceships. Yes. And I agree. I was kind of joking around and I said, if I had been cast on Lego Masters, I would have spent all of my available time just learning how to do sculpture, because I think it's critical on that kind of a competition that you have the capacity to do at least some sculpture. And it's something I don't think I'm any good at point. But that's good to have goals, right? It's good to have a horizon.
That's why I forced myself, and Dana's probably not pretty upset. He was a little irritated that I took so long for that Lego store display, but I'm like, yeah, I can build a fantasy thing, but I need to push myself, so I have to have a creature. So I had to build a creature, and I wouldn't build the rest of it until I finished the creature.
So that's another thing, like scale. Scale has always been a big mystery to me. Like not understanding scale, but building to the scale of like, well, I've got my moon base here, great. But like, if you want me to build like supplementary vehicles or like little things to go on it that matches that scale, I'm your guy. But building anything bigger than like a modular 2-story house, and even then I'm still like, welp, what do I do now?
Scale's really hard, and I tear crap down because I look at it, I put it together, and I put a minifig on it, and I'm like, shit, this looks terrible. This looks totally wrong. And I don't think anyone has mastered scale to the point they can just build, because even when you build big mocks, it's just you have to have a minifig there.
Right. That's the other important thing too. For a while, I was using a minifig and I was using a horse. A horse simply because if I can move the horse around inside the building, that means that I can move the minifigure easier inside the building.
Yep.
And the only time that I didn't do that was with the 2-story modular that I have, the blue and tan one, and it shows in the interior design. Like, a fat guy could not move around in there in mini scale form, and it's like very tight and very everything else, but it's also very detailed, and I'm like, yep, I'm okay with this. It's one of the few instances where the clutter adds to the appeal of the build, but on the outside you'd never see that. It just looks like a dime a dozen 2-story modular.
I'm pretty terrible when it comes to interiors. I'm like,
Nobody sees the inside. Nobody sees it.
I'm done.
I love building interiors on buildings. Like, that's my favorite thing to do. Like spaceships when I was a kid. Like, I used to take the big green base plates and like line those up and connect them and be like, "This is my Enterprise." But that interior was popping. Let me tell you, the exterior not so much.
Well, Natalie actually built on the Friends sailboat. She built all the interior. I didn't do any
Nice.
of the interior.
Oh, really? She did that?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, she did the mess hall. She did the crew quarters. She did the captain's quarters. I made the chandelier in the captain's quarters, but I like bling, but I don't do good interiors, and I just feel sometimes I feel so worn out by the end of a build, and it's like, do I really have to go back and do the interior?
Well, Rich has been showing some examples of a finished interior, and when I'm going to thread a couple things in here. Rich will be the only panelist who will be at Brick Fair, Virginia this year. I was there last year, and so was VW.
I was there 2 years ago.
I wasn't there. Yeah. I was there in 2017, I think, but
I was there in 2018. 2018. So no, 2019.
The top row has spread our appearances out, whereas Rich goes every year because it's basically his backyard. It was his backyard.
Was my backyard. It's still my go-to con. But building, I'll say this about Lego modulars. They challenge me to do them better. And I'll tell you, the first year that I think that Lego actually took real notice of the way I do interiors was, in fact, the detective's office, because on the second floor, not in the detective's office, but across the hall above the Al's hair cuttery was a bathroom. That was the first year they put in a real bathroom in there, albeit small, but I kept those components for this bathroom.
And I will tell you, when I was at Brick Fair and I was talking to Rich on the floor as he was setting out his modulars, and I make my joke about nobody ever sees the inside. Well, Rich proceeded to lift the lid off and show me the inside of his modulars, which are finished on the inside. So I know from being at that convention where I always joke like nobody sees the inside. Yes, Rich will show you the inside because he's put time and energy into that.
Yeah,
damn right.
Yeah, and it's a challenge. The one thing that the modulars have really done is, and you talk about minifig scale, is really trying to make an interior that actually justifies the shape and size. That selective compression, as I like to say, of having a minifig in a build. You have to really, really think through how big is that? Is the minifig actually going to be able to do anything in there? And I think I achieve it mostly without going. I mean, one of my goals in making this set, this detective's office, is I pulled it off the base plate that I had built it on originally, the full set, and tried to excise owls from that set and just concentrate on the pool hall and the detective's office in a size that made sense, with the extra entranceway up the stairs and access to the roof, and having a real detective's office with an outside office manager, receptionist, and all the accoutrement that should have been in that detective's office is just a little bigger. Telephone, water cooler, real safe, extra file drawers, a bathroom. So getting those things all in that one space, I had to move things around a little bit. Oh, one of the things that you didn't see really is that window's bricked up. That's where the bathroom is. And on the inside, the wall meets that brick wall, that bricked up window for the bathroom cutoff, because you couldn't have the window there at all. So, I mean, I could have put it in a half window, but it just wouldn't look right.
Or the other thing you see in those old buildings is when they do like the frosted translucent glass, like
Glass block.
Yeah.
Here's the last
Yeah.
interior I did. It was on my first mock.
The first mock and the last mock that you did interiors on.
This will be coming to Brick Fair with me.
I double walled it though to make wallpaper, and that
There
was
you
a
go.
lot of time.
Oh, that's right. You did double wall it. I forgot about that.
One last thing that you don't see is that when you often you see in those old movies where there's a detective in his office on the outside, you don't see, or you do see that like he's got windows, but they're usually frosted out.
Right.
You can't really see. So that's the windows and the door are frosted. You can't quite see inside. It's diffused. So I added that little detail.
So how did you just put literally a piece of film on top of it?
Piece of tape.
Yeah, a piece of tape. Okay.
Nice.
Tape is your friend.
Yep.
It doesn't destroy the window. You can remove it when you don't want it because you've rebuilt it or something.
Yeah.
It's not totally illegal, but I use that for all the bathrooms if I have a bathroom window, and then for the getting that effect for the detective's actual office, it was perfect. I was like, I need to frost that.
I just want to say, most Friends sets have bathrooms.
I know. The year after Friends came out, the designer came to Brick Fair, and she spent time looking over my modular.
Get some ideas for bathrooms.
So I it's like that Progressive commercial. I didn't win the lawsuit, but everybody knows I wrote that song.
To come back and connect some threads here. So Jeff was talking about scale and coming back to Merida. So one of her first really big builds was at Brick Fair, and I think it was a husband-wife collaboration, if I'm correct, but they did a whole Ninjago layout.
No, that was all me.
That was all you. Okay. It was
and
huge.
Natalie helped.
It was
that
huge.
Was all Natalie and me.
I mean, the buildings were big, and then there was this huge expanse of water, which were done with translucent.
Natalie did that.
The scale of it caught me by surprise. I mean, I knew that you were working on some of the buildings, but the scale of the entire layout was.
The problem was when I started laying things out, and I remember for the courtyard in front of there, I was trying to model after the Forbidden City, which is just like awe-inspiring. And I remember going to, was Atlanta BrickCon or Atlanta Brick Celebration, whatever it was. The last year it was at Cobb Galleria. And I remember putting it all together and putting the pieces I had for the courtyard out, which were all in mills. I take that back. Brian built me the mills. And it was just all modular. I made it all like modular. And I'm like, shit, this looks like everything's like this. Like
cramped.
The palace is right here and the guardhouse is right here. And it's just so hard to really gauge when you're building a bigger mock the scale. I mean, it looked like they were next door neighbors and didn't look like an actual courtyard. And it's hard, especially people say like, oh, you have a big basement, but like when I'm building something, it's hard to even put it together. And I have a decent sized basement. And when people and I have Brian's Death Star over here, so I can't put anything together over there. So its scale is so hard, and especially if you're a builder with limited space, I don't know how you do it other than maybe just putting half together at a time and half together at a time to see what it looks like.
When I was working on Jetson's Tower right before Chicago, it takes up one half of my building table, just the tower part. So I actually ended up like building some things in my lap because I had drawers of parts sitting out. So I could just reach over and grab things in dark turquoise or white. But it looks like I have a decent amount of build space. But boy, if you up the scale, that build room just evaporates. And I'm sure Jeff probably ended that too.
Yeah.
Man, I have a good example of scale in my share screen if you want to hit that share button. This was one of my first adult builds. Oh, yeah, no.
Let's see if you can do it.
Yep.
It's all new tech for me. Let's see.
He's a Luddite.
Do we need to grab Thomas? We can go get Thomas.
Well, he
At the
doesn't
very
know.
bottom, it should be Jeff is trying to share something.
It'll be in the bottom bar where all of our pictures are.
Yep.
You just technically click it, I think, or tap it and choose share or something like that.
Yep.
But you might have to change the view too.
Yeah, that's.
If you've already,
Focus on him and then do the share.
No, hang on.
Enlarge him so he's the only person in the screen. And then
no, that
and
it
then
doesn't work like that, Rich.
Well, it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. It's just there's a no. So you know how all of our pictures are at the bottom? You should see his share screen there.
It should be to the right of it or the bottom of it, or
I
don't see a share screen.
Scroll down then.
Scroll down.
If you filled up the screen, it might be below that.
Yeah, I don't see it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You may not have admin rights.
I failed.
No, he does because he's running the show. So.
Yeah, but I'm also doing it on my iPad, not a laptop. So.
Oh well.
That might be your problem.
Yeah, your problem is Apple.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. Chris just said you didn't attend the training.
the training. He's like, yeah, there should have been an email from 2 years ago that invited you to be moderator. And I'm like going through 2 years of emails trying to find.
Dude, that is such a boss thing. Like, didn't you see that training email that was sent to you, or that invite email that was sent to you like 2 years ago? Why didn't you?
That reminds me. I have training to do tomorrow. Crap.
It's a
Thanks,
boss.
Meredith.
I'm here to remind everyone of their.
Well, Jeff, can you just show it on your camera?
Yeah, that's what I just figured out to do. So give me 1 second. I'm doing exactly that.
I gotta go get Nat to bed.
There you go. So,
all right, so this was my first foray into building as an adult, because I saw
that's lovely.
That's pretty good. If that was your first foray,
that was the first big thing I wanted to do. Like, the trees are copied from something. The car is a part of a set. The Vespa just came out, like the Lego Vespa. I think that might even be a third party. But there's no interior for that house at all. The garage door didn't work. But I wanted to build a townhouse with the apartment above the garage and everything else, and it still bothers me that this looks like it does. Even though it's a good build, it's not a bad build, it's not a great build, but I mean, this was me trying to get scale right with those trees, with the car, because that's what I was basing it on. The car's scale based on everything else.
But that's how everybody learns. You learn by imitation. So copying somebody's trees, that's how most of us learn things.
Oh, true.
And then you build something and it's not quite what you want. So you end up tearing something down, or you build something totally new. Just as when I build a building, especially if it's an original thing, I will build the left side different from the right side and see which one looks better. And then I tear one of them completely apart and I just go with the side that looks better. But it's a trial and error process. That's one reason I'm a slow builder.
That is the interior of a 2-story townhouse thing that I built.
That looks pretty detailed.
Kitchen, computer, no TV or anything like that. But I was really proud of this because it's a very
it's cool.
You should be streaming on his computer and playing guitar. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, and the yard is actually pretty nice on it. I'll try to find some other pictures, but yeah, it's just that was my first foray. These are some of my first forays back as a serious.
That's really nice, Jeff. I mean, I really mean that. I mean,
thank you.
If you worked at doing more modulars, so my forte has been, and my MO has been, is to get the Lego modular set and then kind of deconstruct it. The bank building with the laundromat. I pulled the laundromat completely out of the bank building and then beefed up the bank building and then built the laundromat.
You can't see it, but I'm nodding.
Yeah. So if you only did that, if you deconstructed a modular set that Lego produced and made it your own, like the detective's office here with the removal of owls and the other nonsense that went on to the right of it. And I'm not saying that it's nonsense, a nonsense building. It's just a weird configuration, and I found it not aesthetically pleasing to me, and I already had a blue barber's shop anyway, so I don't need that. Yeah. So if you just did that kind of thing, and you could hone your skills really well on that, anybody could, especially the newer modulars that have come out. And to tie back to the title of tonight's show that we disregarded is, what do you spend your money on, and why? And the pricing is, a few weeks ago, my wife invited me to go to the King of Prussia, and we picked up Sesame Street. We picked up the police station modular. We picked up the hotel with the boutique, and I've yet to cut my teeth on any of those. As well as before, I think right around the time we moved, I've got the Daily Bugle that I need to work on, plus the bookstore. And I've seen some really fabulous work with somebody doing the bookstore. This guy in Europe, I think he's Polish, Gabor Boasa, and he did
he's a
the
good
bookstore where it's rounded on a corner, and I'm like, that is fantastic. I want to steal that, and I probably will.
I messaged him because I had also been trying to work on a rounded corner building, and I'm like, how many points, how many studs is your curve connected on? Because that's what I couldn't figure out, or I've struggled. I could get a few connection points, but lining up the Lego math to get that curve on a base plate was extremely difficult. I was trial and erroring my way through it, but it was very, very troublesome. And I would also encourage you, just for techniques alone, Ninjago City and the gardens, even if you don't want to buy the set, but if you go through the instructions and look at some of the techniques where they have buildings.
I've seen some reviews and people building it. It's fabulous work. I'm not saying that it's not. If I just had just a little more money, I would have gotten the first Ninjago City and the extra one, and there's another one that's kind of like in that series where it has component buildings. I mean, what I'm doing recently is taking the 3-in-1 modulars and making them into modular buildings. Hence the bakery over there, right there. Same kind of deal. They're really compact and have a lot of little tiny details, but I've tried to smear it like peanut butter over a whole modular piece as well.
That's
I absolutely respect that kind of thing. I'm actually, I may have mentioned it before, I'm working on the one of the other modulars, like a canal house that has a newspaper stand and a toy shop, and I'm making it a bike shop and a bodega. Same kind of deal. All those little details, trying to get them all in there based on the inspiration from that 3-in-1 set.
Yeah. Bodega, was that the actor that played Finn in Star Wars?
Yes. Absolutely.
There's also a Lego neighborhood book. I can't remember who wrote it or who designed it, but
the Wild Brothers. I have both of them.
Yeah, I use that too.
Oh, look, they just happen to be at my fingertip.
Just at your fingertip. They're from their website is the hardware store, which I beefed up, and it's got all the details in there too.
Yeah.
And if you buy the books, each of the books comes with a couple different instructions on either a full plate build or a half plate build, which I built 2 of the buildings, which I sort of modded into my biker bar and my gay bar, were straight out of their book, or their. I either did it from the book or I bought their instructions. And Jeff, just as you were, you were feeling modest about your first buildings. Well, I bought somebody else's instructions. I bought somebody's basic structure. I changed colors. I changed a few details. That's how we learn.
This is a purchase that I modified. This is also, if you look at the book number 1, where you had the pharmacist, the apothecary, this is the same building. There's some things moved around, but it's the same building.
It's got the side entrance there, and
it's structurally and and designed almost exactly the same. The only real difference is that instead of an outside stairway to the second floor, they have an inside stairway here.
Yeah.
In the
See,
instructions. That's
I love those books.
That's a bot instruction.
Yeah, but I love those books because when I first started getting back into it, those are the books that I found. And then I read them and I reread them, and my wife at the time was wondering why I was wasting my time, and I ignored her and kept going through it. And then that's how that white and gray house happened, because it was, on how to do this, on how to build a facade, because I had no idea. And I was just happy with it. I was super happy with the way it was. And
this is from a different site, Built Builders Pro, but their instructions are basically a box on top of a box with nothing inside.
So if folks that are all interested in building modulars, this particular building, the front half has pages where they just have like a page of showing you different window treatments or different balconies that you could put up, or plants, newspaper stands. What are newspapers? Kids might ask. But anyways, but the details that if you just sit down and go like, oh, I want to build a modular, and then you might easily be overwhelmed by thinking, how am I going to put all these details in there? They give you a kind of basic language of here's how you can make a window, here's how you can make a balcony, here's how you can make a staircase, and you can copy and paste. You can, copy, paste, and mod, and that's, you're learning the language, you're learning the basic building blocks. And I mean, one of the comments I've made to Chris and Mark, who kind of, give me a hard time that I don't build a lot of space, is when I got into building, I look at the space stuff and I'm like, the state of the art is high. I don't know that I could just jump in and catch up to that. Whereas I feel modulars, the state of the art is very flexible, but there's a ton of buildings that nobody's done yet. And there's just so many variations on buildings that I felt more comfortable, frankly, building buildings than I did building spaceships. And I think Oklahoma Jeff was kind of reflecting that when he was like, I built this thing, it wasn't as good. Well, that's partly because I think it's harder for new folks because the state of the art is where it is. And modulars, the store modulars are better today than they were 10 years ago, and so it is a jump. You get in, and if you're comparing yourself to the best stuff out there, you're not going to be that good your first year. Nobody's that good.
Well, no, I don't think I was comparing it as much as I was going, how did other people do this?
Okay.
And I wanted it to look like it would fit within where it needed to, right?
Fair.
And I think I accomplished that. I think that
yes, that's what you did too.
I think that if that were in a train layout with other buildings, it'd blend right in. And now where I'm at with my building, which is extremely rusty, I just want to be able to build a structure that looks like it's worth a shit. That's where I'm at right now. I've already got plans to start doing the cyberpunk thing and building that city up, and I'm feeling a little daunted by it because it's you haven't done this for a while, big man. Maybe take a few months and get back to your roots a bit and then go from there. So that's kind of where I'm at.
But I would say if you took that first building that you showed us, if you took that to a convention in 2003, it would have compared very favorably to where things were in 2003, 2004. But you look at it, if you take it to a convention now, you might say, well, gosh, this person over here, look all the detail, or look how they did their great trees. The state of the art's gotten better. I mean, and I think it's inherent. It's very easy to get discouraged, or at least be sort of daunted by very talented builders, or very experienced builders in some cases.
I'd like to say this to you guys, and to people who are watching, and to people who may be watching in the future, that everybody starts somewhere, and your level of building is at the highest point that you're building that day. You're only going to get better. It's not a question of, I built something and I don't think it looks right. Well, that's fine. You can do that. You know how many times I changed around things in this monster?
Oh, right, exactly.
More times than I care to really describe. But, I built the first part of the pool hall, and then I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, I said,
Something's not right. Oh, there's no bathroom. So I had to go back and re-engineer something. I had to get the door in there. I had to get the space behind the stairs, and where was things going? So it's not your state of building today. Whatever you're building is the highest level that you are that day. You can only do better by working at it the next day. It's not going to get less. You're always going to get better once you start building. And your level of building is wherever you're at. And if it's good to you, I'm proud to put that next to any building that I have.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's the thing too.
I'm not saying that as lip service. I mean, if you brought in a building today to me and said, "Hey, I'd like to display on your site, on your display," I would clear a spot out and get it fitted in. I don't care if it's a rainbow building.
But that's like the goal. Like when I met VW in Alabama, right? That's when we first met.
Yep.
I was super impressed with all the space crap. I was, just because it was. But then I saw his castle, and I got to thinking about my inn, and like I want my inn one day for VW to be like, "Hey, can you throw that in front of the castle? Or like, can you throw that on another base plate adjacent to it so that it looks like it's." That's the goal. The goal is to have a friend or something like that, and be like, "Jeff, can you throw in one of your buildings?" Even if it's like, "Hey, we need a space filler. Can you please do this?" That's the goal for one day, and I think I'll be there soon. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah,
VW.
I was just as Jeff's talking, I was looking at the pictures, and I noticed that he's done something that I never thought of doing, and that's the palm leaf or the tree that he's got there with by the flowers. The actual leaves are up. The actual tree is upside down.
Yeah,
because it gives a different curve for the actual bamboo leaves.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I never thought about that.
I saw that someone else did it on Instagram, and I stole it. Did my palm trees for my San Juan, and I freely admit I stole it. It was somebody else's idea.
Yeah.
It looked fantastic, and so I started pointing them down.
And I mean,
the grass bush upside down, especially the dark tan one. I stole that from somebody for my palm trees for my Forbidden Island too. And the only update to that is I added little green balls for coconut underneath the leaf.
Okay.
I have no idea where I got that palm tree thing from. I don't even know if I stole it from somebody. All I know is I was messing around with trees and was like, "This looks better than I expected. I'm leaving it here."
And truthfully, that's one of the most fun things about conventions from my perspective is walking around and seeing people use a part in a way I never, ever would have thought of on my own. And I mean, it happens every convention.
You mentioned it earlier, too, from Instagram, from Flickr, places like that. And I mean, a lot of my building techniques came from places like that, too. It wasn't all just in my brain and I figured it out. Hell no. It was like stuff that, like, it's like, well, how do I do this? And you start looking around for ideas, right? Like, how do you build curved castle walls? Well, you
carefully.
Carefully.
And I want to give a shout out. There are people who do tutorials, and I know Oklahoma Jeff was a little bit like tutorials, but for
no, same page. Like, there's a kid on Instagram that does castle. He does castle tutorials. And I know I just said I'm new tutorials, but no shit, I've downloaded every file he's put out because I want to do this one. I want to build a castle one day. I'm like, I'm going to steal every part of this and combine it, and it's going to be Castle McAwee. That's great.
There's a guy, or I assume a guy, but maybe a gal, a person who has a website called Full Play Builds, and he has the number of tutorials on trees, bushes, grasses. And I went through and just walked myself through the process to see how this person had come up with some cool looking bushes and trees because I don't know how to make those things. And it helped me. Are you looking at it right now?
I'm looking at it right now. Full Play Builds.
Crap. This is awesome.
So, it's one of those things we all borrow, steal from other people that, and that is one of the reasons, as Rich was saying, that I still like buying the store sets is that you get a Ninjago City you get a new modular, and there's sometimes something you've never seen before. In particular, Assembly Square, where they turned the garage doors on their side as a glass panel that wraps around.
Yeah.
I
That
was
blew my
like,
mind.
this
or
is
the
fantastic.
shovel, or the shovel for a front end loader as a roof.
Yes.
That's like,
Yeah.
In Ninjago City, there's a awning that is nothing but the black like crowbars snapped together in a row. It's all,
yeah,
you know, I mean, that's
yeah,
it's
lovely.
not, it's crowbars.
Yeah. Who'd have thought? Yeah, I have an assembly square built. My wife built it. She said, I get to build this one. I was like, okay, fine. Just don't be upset one day when I take it apart for its constituent parts. And there'll be individual buildings, and I'll even try to figure out a way to include that fountain that's in there. And it's going to be on the display somehow, parts of it. I'm trying to get through my inventory of things that are already built that need to be transformed. This was one of them, one of my older ones, the assembly square. I've got a diner that I need to transfer to the plate that I'm not using for my detective's office. It's all set up as a 32 by 32 with the raised base plate, or with the raised plate on the base plate, so that I can move it over. That one's actually pretty darn near perfect. The diner. I don't know that I'm going to mess with it too much.
You know, sometimes you get to a point where you're content, you're satisfied with how it looks.
Yeah, it's a decent set, and like I said, I'm not certain how I could improve on it or make it better by adjusting it. I don't know.
You're talking about the official diner set?
Yes.
I have seen people who flip-flopped, which basically they kind of flipped it so the tall part was on the opposite side, and
yeah,
I kind of think it looks better that way. Now, I didn't flip mine, but I've seen people who did that.
Yeah, I mean, I might do that. I mean, for the detective's office, you know what really blew my mind is that there's two different molds for these.
Yep.
In gray, in dark gray. And I didn't realize that. I was like, I got a bunch of hands. I know I do. I went back there and grabbed a bunch of hands, and they were the other one. And they don't fit.
Yeah.
But I do have these metallic pearl silver ones that you can just barely tell are different. But I think it adds to the contrast. And they're the right ones.
Or
so
I re-bricked the corner cafe, and the sign has a fan that is white skis. And at first, I thought all white skis were the same, but they're not. Some of the skis have like a bump in the middle of them, and some of them are flat in the middle. So I was collecting the parts to re-brick corner cafe because I didn't have the money to drop on an official copy. And I started to put the fan together, and I'm like, oh, I have a mixture of two different parts, and they don't play nice together.
Yeah.
So the snowshoe as a fan, the ceiling fan with the light,
that's awesome.
Are different from these.
I didn't even know. I didn't remember they came in yellow.
Yeah, they come in yellow. The Arctic sets. Now, these don't have the little. They don't have the studs further up, and doesn't have the little holes in the back,
which are important.
Why would they be yellow in the Arctic sets?
Back? I don't know. They were yellow.
Don't pee in the snow, so I got to pee on my.
If they're yellow, why not? Lose them in the snow, they might be more easy to spot against the white.
I suppose.
Yeah, but wouldn't they be brown? Would be better anyway.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't know. I just know they came in yellow. I've got a bunch of them in yellow.
No, you're right. They did come in the Arctic sets, but it's like, why did they come in yellow?
Some designer was like, yeah, we needed to work some yellow into the scheme.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make the snowshoes yellow. You know.
Yeah.
But,
yellow pops, Jerry. Yellow pops.
The thing, one of the things is that you never know what Lego's going to come out with next as far as a part or a remold of a piece that you thought was going to be standardized for a longer time, and next thing you know, but it also can open up a new dimension to your building as well, your building style. So buying new modular sets and seeing some of the new things that they come out with and then use those techniques with, I can't beat it.
For example, in the brick bank, the top detail, the greebling that goes along the top is like a tool part, which I had never even considered reusing repeated tools to create a texture or to create a detail. And so after I saw that, I was on Bricks and Pieces and looking at minifig accessories, and I ordered 15, 20 Thor hammers because they weren't super expensive. And I thought, I'm going to work this in. I'm going to put these Thor hammers in as a detail in a building one day. Haven't done it yet, but they're sitting there and it's in the back of my head. One of these days.
They're either I think they're a brick and a half, a 7.5 wide. So you kind of have to like do the offset, but lining them all up along the top as a dental piece along the top of the building is going to look really nice if you can get that spacing right.
And then the latest one, the boutique hotel, the top uses like these. I can't remember now what the piece is, but it's not a piece I would have ever thought of as an architectural piece. But they use it. Is it a whip or is it something like? It's something like a whip, but they use it in such a way as a decorative motif. And again, I'm just like, I never thought of that. That's great.
Well, I think their first modular set, the Canal House,
the Cafe Corner.
No.
Green Grocer.
No. Before that,
the blue one. We don't count that.
Oh yeah. The
Canal House. So these have whips.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as an ironwork figure, that's pretty awesome. So I've kept that for the 3 buildings that are like this. It's not on all 3 of them because that push out actually covers that space, but where it doesn't, I try to use that on top of where the push through alley is for the vendors. So having that as an architectural feature is pretty cool, I think. Things Lego surprises me a lot sometimes about what they include and don't include as far as an architectural detail. I transform my keys into little wisps of steam in an actual pot, the tea house.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably land the plane or the spaceship. But before we do, I just wanted to recap for folks that might be watching now or watching in the future. And that is, especially if you're growing and developing as a builder, there is no shame in copying people. We all learn that way. Steal with abandon. We all learned. We're all standing on the shoulders of Lego giants who figured things out and showed us how to do stuff. And someday you might be the person that somebody else copies, but you don't need to be shy about seeing a cool technique or something clever and utilizing it. So, go out there and learn the tricks. Giddens likes to call it muscle memory. So, he's got spaceship muscle memory and those of us have some modular muscle memory. So develop
That's what it is.
Develop your own, whatever it is. If you're building mechs or building, spaceships, or you're building sculptures, whatever it is that you want to push yourself, whatever it is you aspire to be creative with Lego, don't be shy about copying stuff. And then that's a moment when you push past copying other people and you come up with something original that you've never seen before. And that's when okay, I'm advancing up this sort of learning curve, and I'm actually going to try something I've never seen anybody else do. But you got to build the foundation first. You got to know how to make things so they don't fall apart. You got to learn
Crawl before you can walk, and crawl before you can run, and all that fun stuff.
Yep. You got to use the molded stair steps, and then eventually you can brick build a stair steps if you want to.
Truth be told, those molded stair steps are the best stair steps in the world, and like,
they're handy
stairs, but they are a pain. Yeah.
Building brick built stairs is kind of a pain in the butt. But they look good, but they take a lot of time, and you do have to sort of puzzle it out. But
and it's a lot better than the 1980s pirate molded stairs that we had. So just saying.
and you can't flip them like this.
Yeah.
So, thanks everybody for
I'm back
participating, especially as we were missing a number of regulars. So, since we have had a modular heavy show today, the spaceship is going to be this. I'm going to land the spaceship here.
God,
thanks everybody who listened in or may listen in the future, and tune in next week when we'll probably complain about prices or something. I don't know.
Just so you know, 90th anniversary is in 2 weeks from now.
That's right.
So
have a great weekend, everybody.
Now let's watch Matt try to end the stream.
Yep. There's a single button for that.
There's a single
It's a double press though.
Oh, you do?
It does